So far, if you don't mind, I'd like to. Brandon's not here yet.
Nope.
All right. We were talking about not doing a hello Java today, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I'd like to do is get everybody to try this new idea called an open space.
Ah, that's an open space.
What you do is everybody comes up here and everybody gets 3 points to vote with. 3, it's like money. It's free to post a topic on the board. And what you do is I got the 3 from Barrett, I think, or maybe from Pollyanna. But you can vote all 3 of your votes on one topic if that's really what you'd like to talk about, or else spread them out. And in the end, we have a winner, and that's what we spend half an hour discussing in the group. I'm not going to do the fishbowl thing. I think we can be civilized amongst ourselves. And that's it. So I'm going to write the first topic that I'd like to talk about up here.
Aren't you doing a presentation on that?
I am? Maybe I am.
I saw something about REST.
So here's mine, and I'm going to put one vote next to it and watch what everybody else does before I put the rest of my votes.
This is next to REST, like REST protocol?
Yeah. Do we do that now? Or later?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
I'm done.
But they're going to let me.
Anybody else?
What's your topic?
Compiling / building gears, all that kind of Maven. How do you compile all this code in different places and package it up? How do you do that?
I think I've done this before, but I can't.
Nevin?
Go ahead.
Someone might be on top of it. Connecting JBoss message queue.
Is it connecting or reconnecting?
Reconnecting.
I'll try to write better. JBoss.
JBoss message queue.
No. That'll take. Put my name as a running
Maybe you should reconnect to JBoss message queue.
That's good enough, right?
The idea is that you guys go up there and write. Vote.
3 is enough?
You can vote all 3 on one if you really like it.
So you're reserving 2 votes for later?
I think it's unfair to vote before I've even seen the other topics. What if somebody else has a really awesome topic? I'll put my other 2 on that one.
Well, it'd be no different from most elections.
Yeah. One.
So first slide, this one.
And we'll be done with this at
I will try.
let's box it for about 5 more minutes.
You can tell, I will try.
No, I'm going. Standing up.
Write big. I wrote too small.
Okay.
Just going to write down serial ID / hibernate.
No, write it anywhere on the board you want. This is anarchy.
So more topics we can write? Can we write more topics?
Yeah, please do. And if Michael tries to go to the board, somebody push him down. I brought the right card. Oh, cool. How about that? Check. Oh, yeah, I brought my chocolate.
But if I was in my car,
You need the low color markers.
Ooh, that's good. Really big multi-threaded app. They don't even fit on the board.
I know. We're big.
first off, you don't have enough to put it out.
Yeah.
The marking of unit tests. Marking of tests.
It would be
Mocking tests.
Put it there. Put it there. We have another 3 minutes and I have 2 votes.
Topics. Go. Topics.
Bicycles. Oh yeah, we can put anything. Fitness.
Really? We don't have to stay within the...
No, it's an open space.
Determining what's
I
wrong
thought
with
open
your
space for the OKCJug.
Well, you can put whatever you want. Just good luck getting votes. It might be hard to campaign for fashion design.
I might want to take back my votes if there's something that you really achieve.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. You could vote 3 times and then go up there and change your vote.
Yeah, there could be, test isolation.
Yeah.
No, don't let Michael write anything.
Is that fit or nest?
Yes.
You're not going to vote, Michael?
I didn't say.
That's
No, I'm going to reserve my votes until I see all the topics.
Yeah, good point.
reminds me of
I had 2 votes
Then I have
left.
to remember
There
where I
might be more
voted.
than
I
that.
want to change the vote.
Yeah, I've had 1 vote to spend. I can unspend it. Thank you, sir. Did Steve ever show?
No. What was the last? Did you know?
All
Welcome to the club. Doesn't excuse me.
That's right. He's got no room to talk.
Yeah.
Well, we don't need to talk about that here.
I can put it on the
That's all
board.
I'd ask.
We can put it on the board. We can vote for it. Back to what we do is.
That's not
This
pro.
sucks.
There's a couple.
Should I just go big back paint or should I go, lumber scoliosis? Whatever.
Yeah, specific versus broad is an interesting trade-off. But time's up for topics. Everybody come spread your votes.
If you didn't vote already.
Oh, time's up?
Gotta go vote.
You get 3 votes?
Yeah, you get 3 votes.
I think you should erase the votes and then redo them.
Oh yeah.
I don't need
Well, it's just gonna start a conversation in a minute. Once everybody says they're done, we all know what we're talking about.
And we can store these topics for future.
We could have a vote on the Yahoo site,
Yeah.
and you can vote on it next month.
We could actually form a representative democracy. I delegate Paul.
Is that a Republican? Representative?
Yeah.
Electoral college.
Personal
If Brandon doesn't make it, he doesn't get to vote.
It's like the executive requirement.
Yeah, that one really caught fire, didn't it? I mean, it's pretty.
Michael has his finger on the pulse of the
Although embedded job seems to have caught up at the very end there.
Nah.
But it didn't catch all the way. Really close.
Mark can get 4.
Well, that's it then. So who's going to start the conversation? I guess Michael. Executable requirements. What are they? Why don't you give us a short
What are
explanation?
executable requirements? Is that different than documents? Executable documents?
You were in that meeting. You didn't say anything about having to talk about it.
You don't have to. Someone else can start it. You just sort of you got to get it sort of seated now. Anybody else who voted, if you want to start it going, that's cool too.
All right, the thought behind executable requirements is to improve the interface between the analyst who is responsible for documenting and describing the needs of the business, and on the other side of the communication have the interface, the developer who's responsible for putting a system together that meets the needs of the business.
Oh, it's an office building?
The take on why we need
Yeah,
it
it's
is
Center 3000.
in most cases we use the English language to describe, right? And the English language is imperfect, just about any other language is imperfect. So
Just north of Hooters.
if the business analyst can generate executable requirements,
So where are you at?
right? And they're directly involved in explaining what it is. And it brings them closer to how the system performs. What it is.
That's a good start. I mean, I guess the question is, there's the technology question, and then there's the, really, how would you record them, and what would an actual meeting with a user who's giving you some requirements that are in some executable format, what would it look like? How would you get that information in a form you could use it to make these things?
I think we can come up with VML for VPL or something like that.
VPL. So more of a diagramming perspective, that might give you some. That's good. I mean, when you're talking to people about stuff, you whiteboard sometimes, but that doesn't execute. How do you get that to execute? And what's the purpose of getting it to execute? To actually be the software, or to somehow create the software?
Oh yeah, outside of the framework of the software, like interfaces and empty classes and all those.
So code generation.
Not exactly code generation, but it just writes code from the UML, from Deeper to UML.
How would you set up on
empty classes? That is a
and turn right only none.
I don't think that really conveys whatever the analyst can, he basically gives you the specs of what they want. I mean, they really don't have to know how he's going to implement that. Should be the architects or developers' way of doing it, how he wants to do it. The analyst should write all the specification out and maybe implement this in phases and then go from there. I mean,
it's definitely going to take a lot more coordination between the developers and the business analysts than you might get today. A lot of discussion, and that's why probably user stories is a better way to go regarding this than use cases. But
I think it'll be at the right level.
You've got to define
your service
like you're going to write these these executable requirements on top of.
That's my
So the development team, or whatever it needs to define what that service layer is, the interface of that service layer. Dispose it to the analyst, and then the analyst can.
I think it's going to have to be more of a iterative, because you're not going to know the service layer without the requirements, and you can't execute the requirements without the service layer. So they're going to have to grow together.
Which goes back to the first thing I brought up: is you're going to need much closer collaboration to get these to work correctly than you might have today.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good thing. And I think it's the right kind of conversations, because like I've done some modeling, and as soon as you get it in any sort of form that you know how you can program against, if it's a business person, they typically then begin to check out. And they're going to be like, oh, big diagram, I don't want to look at it.
Yeah.
But if it's just a very simple way of illustrating, a conversation like, okay, well, if I put this in there, what happens? I mean, those are the kind of questions that you end up asking an analyst time and time again as things go on.
Well,
it would just be so much better to capture and be able to run them.
It sounds like you're talking about the fitness type of thing, right? Decision tables. And if you put, the interest rate in and the principal and the number of years, you get the monthly payment. And here's what it should be. But what about stuff more like about how the application interacts with the user? Not all the way to the user interface, but maybe the sort of thing about what the application on a large level, what it provides to the user. I don't see how that can be done. Huh?
I mean, what about analysts designing wireframes for the product? I mean, that's how I have some of my stuff done. I would like to have the client can, or I can create some wireframe that the analyst goes over it and we change the stuff before I start even coding it. It's basically a mock-up, and go from there. Use it with wireframes.
So how would they make them?
There's software available. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's software available, and I forgot the names, but.
So you could actually sit next to the guy.
Yeah, you can sit next to it and basically go over with him how he creates it and how the application flows and everything, what the functionality. You can put dummy values in and stuff like that using those wireframes. And it's a non-functional thing. It's just for looks and to show you how you want the application to look.
Another Okay, so we got fitness cables, wireframes.
More performance specification line.
Like what?
Actually, a bunch of British engineers coming up with a language called Z. They could specify the requirements in terms of sort of performance specification of the requirements, which could be integrated as part of like a complete automation test suite.
So it need to be like a domain specific language.
You're talking like a case tool kind of a thing? As long as you specify your requirements correctly for the case tool, the case tool can generate the software for you.
Well, it sounded like he was saying it would generate the testing harness, right? Not the software itself. Am I wrong?
Not exactly. I mean, generating the software, yeah, generating the test.
One problem I always remember running into with requirements are the problem of stale requirements. You end up with some portion of your documentation that is up to date and current and used, and others of it that have sort of been forgotten about and describes some old snapshot of what the system looks like. Does that present a greater risk when it executes now, or does that help mitigate that risk?
That's why I think better to divide the requirements into major requirements and that we have micro requirements, small requirements. So major requirements classify actions of user and access to the system and all. The micro requirements is something like editing the fields or validations, So these micro requirements will be evolving over the period. So you cannot say like, right now I know this is the validation for this. After 10 days it will change. After 100 days somebody will change because of the business logic. So if you divide that, and then the major requirements at the high level, not too high level, but coming little down from the use case bag. So at that level we can generate the software. After that, we keep on evolving. I think regarding the micro requirements, rather than from there going to the developer or generating putting into the code or something. Other than that, just record these changes and we say like within that changes the updated requirements.
I think it'd be nice to always have to manage and organize that you can farm. You're always going to have a backlog that you don't expect to be fixed. And as the project progresses, you're going to have sets of executable requirements you expect to run correctly every time. So, but if you end up with some requirements that become stale, whose responsibility is it to manage those within the bounds of the set of expected
If the billing is simple, I think the analyst should. And I think the analyst needs to be mindful. They constantly will come across something that they want to say, oh, well, you know what, it needs to do this too. And they need to think of how, what have they always done? Well, in Waterfall, they made a scope change document and submitted that to the project control office, and hopefully it got accepted, and then 6 months later it might get built, but then they change their mind. Or it could be you walk over to the developer and you say, hey, remember that portion code, I need it to do this. And if they put that down in the same place where it is all the time, I think it's important to, as you said, eliminate the ability to misunderstand that sort of thing, and then centralize it so that it's not a monolithic Word document that people need to look at or use.
or a logical monolithic Word document that's really spread out between 5 or 6 different documents.
Just 6.
It's logically monolithic.
Just 6.
That's the number I'm talking about.
30.
Okay, so enough on that topic. What are we supposed to do now?
Have pizza.